On a calm October night in Nova Scotia, several people saw a bright object drop toward the water and vanish in a burst of foam. By morning, the harbour was quiet again, but the question hung in the air. What fell into the sea? Shag Harbour was a small fishing community, the kind of place where strange things are noticed, because nothing usually happens at all. In 1967, that quiet made every light, sound and rumour feel larger than life. The incident sits in a Canadian water impact case family that still fascinates researchers because it began with multiple witnesses, not a single isolated sighting. What happened there was reported fast, locally, and with enough detail to draw official attention. That evening, witnesses described a glowing object moving low over the water, not like a star and not like a plane. It seemed to descend deliberately, as if following a path the sky had not intended. Then came the sudden impact. People reported a flash, a splash, and a strange yellowish foam spreading across the surface before the light disappeared beneath the waves. What makes the case endure is not only the sighting, but the sequence that followed. The object was said to vanish into the harbour, and the shoreline quickly filled with witnesses trying to make sense of what they had seen. In the hours after, local authorities were alerted, and the search widened into something more serious than a village story. Boats, lights, and official attention turned a mystery into a matter of record. The setting matters because Shag Harbour sits on a rugged edge of the Atlantic, where weather, tides, and distance can confuse the eye. Yet the witnesses were not describing a vague glow on the horizon. They spoke of a close, descending object. As the story spread, people compared notes and found surprising overlap in what they remembered. The object's colour, its low flight, and the impact on the water all appeared again and again. That consistency is one reason the case never settled neatly into folklore. It moved from local astonishment into a file that investigators, journalists, and later researchers kept reopening. The first compelling detail is the reported foam. Witnesses and responders described a yellowish froth on the water, something visible enough to mark the spot where the object had gone down. That foam mattered because it suggested a physical event, not just a light in the sky. People were not only staring upward, they were pointing to a place in the water where something seemed to have entered. The second detail is the search itself. Local boats and officials reportedly combed the area, expecting perhaps wreckage, a downed aircraft, or some obvious sign of an accident. But the surface yielded no simple answer, no clear debris field, no conventional crash scene, and no easy explanation appeared where the witnesses said the object had vanished. The third detail is the timing. The event unfolded quickly enough that memory was fresh, but long enough for several people to see different parts of the same strange sequence. That timing helped the case survive decades of retelling. A brief, vivid incident can fade. A brief, vivid incident with witnesses on land and on the water tends to stay alive. The fourth detail is the official response. Once authorities were involved, the event stopped being only a local mystery and became something that had to be checked, logged, and compared against known traffic in the area. That does not automatically make the event extraordinary, but it does make it harder to dismiss as a single misread light. The case lives in the space between ordinary caution and something visibly odd. Supporters of the extraordinary interpretation point to the object's apparent descent and the lack of a satisfying wreck. If something entered the sea that night, they ask, why was there so little to recover? That question keeps returning because the incident was not just a light in the sky. It was a reported water impact. The sea should have given up something, even if only fragments or a clearer explanation. At the same time, skeptics question whether all the sightings describe the same object with perfect precision. In a dark coastal setting, distance, angle, and excitement can bend perception in powerful ways. Some researchers also note that maritime and atmospheric events can imitate a descent. A meteor, a fireball, or a burning aircraft debris field can appear to fall into the sea and still leave little behind. Even so, the Shag Harbour reports do not sit comfortably inside a single simple label. The object was described as moving low and controlled before impact, which is why the case keeps resisting easy closure. The harbour itself adds to the tension. A small inlet can hide depth, currents, and wreckage, making any search incomplete. But it can also preserve the feeling that something really did go down there. What remains striking is how ordinary the witnesses were. Fishermen, residents, and local responders were not looking for a mystery. They were simply trying to understand an event that interrupted an otherwise familiar night. That ordinariness gives the story its weight. Extraordinary cases often begin not with dramatic declarations, but with people saying, almost reluctantly, that they saw something they cannot place. Researchers who favor a non-human interpretation often emphasize the object's apparent behavior. It seemed to approach, descend, and submerge in a sequence that feels more purposeful than accidental. That is the heart of the case. Not a distant light, but an event that seemed to interact with the ocean itself. If the reports are accurate, the sea became the final witness. Yet the conventional readings remain important, because they remind us how quickly the sky can mislead. A bright object, a startled crowd, and a dark shoreline can produce a story that feels more certain than the evidence allows. The difficulty is that the case still leaves physical and human questions side by side. If it was a meteor or aircraft event, where are the traces? If it was something else, why did it appear so briefly and so cleanly? That unresolved quality is why Shag Harbour remains more than a regional anecdote. It is a rare Canadian incident where witness testimony, official attention, and an apparent water impact all converge. The strongest claim in the case is simple. Several people saw something descend into the sea, and the aftermath did not immediately resolve the event. For believers, that combination keeps the door open to a far stranger reality.